Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Four Friends in a Book podcast. My name is Chris Colston. Of course, I'm here with my friends, Isaiah Tukes, Kimmy DeLate, Laria Reed. In this book for the month of February, we are reading Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America. So listen, if you're tuned in for the very first time, Four Friends in the Book is our monthly podcast series where we have a discussion centered around a book that we're reading together. So we read that book and then we meet here to discuss that, to kind of catch up with each other and just talk about things that may or may not relate to that book. We like to consider ourselves a book club, book reviewers, mixed with just table talk amongst friends. So again, if you are unfamiliar, if it's your first time tuning in, look, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Mm-hmm. If you are a return viewer, like we would love to hear from you guys. So look, drop us a comment. Also, the month of February, we did our very first book event. We attended the Middle Georgia Lit Fest here in Warner Robins, Georgia. Like the Four Friends showed up, y'all. We had a great time meeting people. Had a few of our subscribers that come in and pop up on us. Met a lot of new people as well. So we were glad to kind of have that opportunity to kind of connect and just kind of get out into the book community and share and talk about some books we've read, make some new connections, look, meet some new authors. So it was a great time, great experience. And so, look, stay tuned. Be on the lookout. We got some things coming in the future as well. So be on the lookout for Four Friends to do other things outside these little 4 boxes you see right here.
Yes.
All right, so look, let's get into this book for the month of February. Again, Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America. And really a good fitting book for this month. You know, I think the good thing about kind of being in our little community here, you know, we are 4 friends. I think we all have kind of books that we kind of, you know, kind of vibe with. And I can always depend on like Laria to give me a good memoir recommendation. Like she loves those memoirs. Kim, you know, the fiction girl, so she'll drop these fiction books out. And my brother Isaiah, man, like he all about the culture.
All about it.
and honestly, he had been telling me about this book years ago. He was like, "Hey man, you got to read this book, man. Look, you got to read this book." So me and Isaiah have actually read this book. I think he read it before I did, but I read it a few years back. So again, very fitting book for this month of February, since we are in Black History Month, to read Black AF History by Mr. Michael Harriot. Again, just really kind of retelling the story of American history, even kind of expanding outside those borders, some things that we have learned about our U.S. history that were not correct, really trying to clean up some of the things that we've been told or the things we've been taught that really weren't necessarily true, and really giving history from a different perspective. He does a great job of kind of blending like just real talk history and some humor to kind of tell this story. So look, let's get into this book. Let's discuss it. Let's unpack it. Let's get our little review of Black AF History by Mr. Michael Harriot. So look, y'all already know what it is. The very first question: what did you think about this book? And if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that be? And I kind of want to let Isaiah start this one off, but
look at him. It might not get to me and Kim if he starts.
Yeah, I think I kind of already know how he feel about it, so I'm gonna come to Kim to kick this review off. What did you think about this book, and what would that rating be?
I absolutely love this book. I thought it was well written. Michael did a wonderful job. I listened to it on Audible. He narrated it. It was very pleasant listening to him narrate the book, so it wasn't boring or anything like that. I loved how he wrote the book because it was funny and sarcastic, witty, but he was still giving you a lot of facts and a lot of history, and there's still a lot of heavy things, but you can listen to it and still not, I guess, feel too like bogged down in a way. So I really love the book. This is actually one of the books that I will actually go back and listen to again because it's just a lot of information. So that's the first time I've ever said this on Four Friends in the Book, but I'm going to listen to it again because it was just so much. And I just want to make sure I soak up all the information that he gave. I think it's a great book for anybody that wants to know about the real history of America. If I had to rate it, I actually would give this book a 10. So yeah, I really love the book, so I recommend it.
I'm starting out with a 10. Like, is it our first 10 for this year? Have we gotten a 10 already? Oh, Isaiah may have gotten a 10 for the previous book. But okay. All right, yeah. Look, I wasn't expecting no 10 from you, but I know. Me and Isaiah be on this history. I wouldn't for our fiction girl over here. I just was really, really expecting a 10, but okay. Pleasant surprise. Coming to real next. What did you think about this book and what their rating be?
I absolutely loved it. I was rewinding because I was listening on Audible. I was going back like, what? And the way that he told the stories, I actually felt very ignorant because I was listening to a lot of stuff. And I think that I know a lot of, Black history and what's happening. But I was like, oh my God, I need to go back and study and know what's going on. I love this book. I think that all I kept thinking was, how old are my nephews? I need them to read this. The oldest one is 10. He can start reading it, but the younger ones are too young to know. But that book is so full of history, and the way that he told it is digestible. And one of the things that I was afraid of, because Isaiah likes heavy books.
Hence heavy.
We had to go to work and stuff with people who are not our race, and all that. I didn't want to go in there mad at people and all that kind of stuff. And Isaiah will have you upset with some of the the books that he brings sometimes. So I was like, oh Lord. So I started and I was like, dang, this is a good book. And I kept going and kept reading. I'm like, oh my God. And I feel like Kim, I want to go back and read it again. And it was just so much. That's the only bad part about it, but it was told so well, but it was so good. And I'm along with Kim. I would go above a 10. I mean, the way that this man took all of those historical facts, broke them down, put his life with it to make it mesh and make sense. I mean, it was just so genius. It was an amazing work of art. So I give it a 10 plus. I do.
Okay, look. we got a little momentum going here. All right, so look, 2 10s for Black AF History by Mr. Michael Harriot so far. Yeah, like I'm letting my boy come on follow up with this one. I'm pretty sure I think I know, but I want to hear from the horse's mouth. So look, bro, let you have your opportunity to give your rating on this book and tell us what you thought about it.
So I just been holding it all inside since y'all was just giving such good reviews of this book. Like I was turning cartwheels when this book actually came to a line of like, I've been hitting for this book. I read this book. I enjoyed this book. And I think the title says exactly how this book is going to go. The Unwhitewashed Story of Black History in America. Going through history in the school system, it's really simplified. You cannot get 400 years of history in one school year.
Right.
But like Kim said, this book is well researched. It is fact checked. It actually takes you on a journey. And for me personally, I always push back when they say that my history starts at the Atlantic slave trade. No, my history started, I come from kings and queens. That's how I was talking. That's how I'm going to keep going with that as well too. And Mike Harriot is my boy now. He highlights well-known people from W.E.B. Du Bois to Harriet Tubman, and he actually introduced you to a lot of different people who actually come from the Black leadership in politics and business and journalism. He gives them their recognition and flowers as well too. And no matter what you think about history, it is always worse than we can think. And I think that whitewashing it and downplaying the history is a bad thing to do to the people who actually lived through this. This book is much deeper than I could ever imagine. And I think the state of what this country is going to. Everybody should be introduced or actually read this book. And like Chris even brought up, like we all went to the Middle Georgia Lit Fest, and this book was actually on our table as, letting people know that this was our book that we was reading for this month. And I was just so fascinated by the different demographics who actually said that they read this book, that they actually enjoyed this book, that they actually gathered something out of this book, because everybody deserves to know like the real history of what's going on. Like we actually come from things and we actually have went through things as well too. Like this book is highly recommended by me as well as my other I'm speaking for y'all too, as well as my other co-hosts as well too.
It's highly recommended by my friends who are in this.
By my friends too in this circle. Like I think it's something that you would learn. I rated a 10 all across the board.
Okay, wow. Look, we got 3 10s so far for Black AF history, the unwhitewashed story of America. Look, y'all got me feeling a little bad over here, huh?
You should feel bad if you don't give this book a 10.
You should feel bad.
Peer pressure. What was wrong, Chris? There was nothing wrong with this.
So I'm just kidding, man. Again, Isaiah put me on this book. I think back in 2024 or so. I always been a fan and student of history, so this really spoke to me directly. I think Michael Harry did a great job of really, again, merging history, cleaning up history from things that we've been taught historically that aren't accurate, and still balancing, some heavy, deep stuff like you guys have said, but also sprinkling in some humor with it. So thoroughly enjoyed the book. Very great read. It was so much information.
It is.
And I think that's the only like kind of like Laria said, like I guess the pro and the con, it was so much, so it is a lot to digest. I think you may have to kind of go back and do a second read or listen to the book because it is so much and it's a lot to really to digest. But I think he really covers like from the beginning to the end. As Isaiah mentioned, like even talking about history beginning before like being enslaved, and there were Black people on this continent in the Americas before slavery as well. So I mean, he just really covers the whole gambit, and really just gives a lot of information that, again, I think some stuff we were kind of familiar with that he cleans up, and some stuff that we weren't familiar with at all. So I'm following suit, of course. I'm giving it a 10 as well. So look, we got 4 10s for this book, the month of February. It's only fitting that we rated 10s across the board for Black History Month because we have read Black AF and we are Black AF history. So it's only fitting that we have this rating for this month. Again, if you guys have not read the book, you can go ahead and fast forward and skip. We're going to have our little links in the bottom of this this video here. So you can fast forward to our kind of hot topics and rant segments of the show. And then, look, we definitely expect you guys to go read this book because I think this is something that everyone should read. As Isaiah mentioned, this was a book that we had on our table at the Lit Fest. And I, too, was amazed at how many people outside of just like Black people, because, we look at this book and you think, all right, like this Black history, but this is still American history.
Right.
And so to have a lot of older white women, older white men, just different demographic of people to come up and say, hey, I've read this book, or it's on my reading list, or man, this was so great, was very refreshing to me because I think that's the one thing about American history we kind of gloss over so much. Like we don't talk about it. We don't have very transparent discussions about history, and we don't get those other narratives. I mean, even now in our school systems, they're changing how history was, how it's being taught. Oh, enslaved people wanted to be slave. Like there's so much that's being, our kids are being misinformed. And so to have a book like this to reference, but also to have people that aren't necessarily Black Americans to read and be well versed in this history, I think it's an awesome thing. So look, if you guys haven't read the book, you definitely should read it. But for right now, look, you just skip and fast forward because we will be giving spoilers. We're gonna get into depth in-depth discussion and talks about this book. But if you have read it, we'd love to hear your your ratings as well. So like drop us in the comments right now what you would rate this book. Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America by Mr. Michael Harriot. All right, so you guys kind of all touched on it. The book it's a lot. I mean, it's so much, and he does cover so much throughout the entire book. I mean, as mentioned, like covering stuff that, you know, before slavery, during slavery, you know, post, Civil War activities, Reconstruction, kind of civil rights movement, just so much that is being covered and conveyed throughout this book. But really kind of curious to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions about something that you may not have been familiar with, or something that you learned newly by kind of reading or listening to this book, because it was so much. And again, our school system, especially, in the early 80s, 90s, and even now, I mean, have failed us in some of this education and teaching. So curious to kind of hear you guys' thoughts about things that you weren't familiar with. And I'm gonna come to L'Oreal on this one. Did you learn anything new, or was there something that you weren't familiar with as you were reading this book?
Yeah, as I said, I feel very ignorant. I've known, baseline things, and it really opened my eyes. Like, I really need to go back and research a lot more of my history. A lot of times we feel like we know things, but you really don't know a lot. So I had known about the uprisings and Nat Turner, and how they did the whole, it was like, especially even growing up out here, Nat Turner, he refused to be a slave, and he led an uprising, but I wasn't aware of the magnitude of the other ones that had happened. From the one that was in the colonies, the 13 colonies at the time, it was an enslaved man that led that. I forgot his name. And then there was another one in Louisiana that happened. I was just sitting there like, what? When did he? And these were much bigger than the Nat Turner one. But it was previous, like 1700s, early 1800s. So I'm guessing some of those things got, I won't say lost, but they just weren't as, it may be because my grandparents and their parents were more familiar with the Nat Turner situation, that it always passed down. But the 1700s one didn't pass down the way that one did. So I felt very like, what? And even the Pocahontas, the daughter of the Native American, I was like, what? Stop it. I didn't realize it from that standpoint of what he talked about. So it was just, I did that literally every chapter. I was like, what? No. It was like good tea on top of
good tea.
Learning something. Yeah, dog. No, that did not happen. And it just, even with, and I knew when the Europeans had landed here, they lost a lot of people and all that, but I didn't know they were to the point where they were almost extinct here. And, and the people who were here, the Native Americans, felt bad for them and started helping them. They literally helped them destroy them, and out of your good, pure intentions. And I was just like, I had heard, of course you've heard the story, but the way he put it, it just gave it a whole nother framework, which made me just say, I don't know nothing. I got to go back to I need to go back to the 1500s to 1800. I don't need to start, because a lot of the history I know seems to start 1800 and above, later than that. But I need to go back. I sound like the people in the church. I need to go back to the old landmark. We need to go back. I have got to go back so I can find out what's going on, because I was just sitting there like, what? Where have I been? I've known a lot, but I didn't know all of that. Yeah. So anyway, that's my spiel. That's some of my spiel, but I got plenty more from where that came from this book. So yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think we need the retelling of Pocahontas. It's been glamorized by Disney, but yeah, John Smith wasn't. Yeah, it was a little different.
Yeah.
Coming Isaiah next, man. Anything that you learned anew while reading this book, or something that you weren't really familiar with that you kind of gleaned from reading this story, Black AF History by Mr. Michael Harriot?
So I kind of knew some of the story of Ida B. Wells, but I'm glad I read this book because it actually break you down the full story of what she actually did, of how she got into documenting lynching. Like it was her close friend, I think his name was Thomas Moss, and he was lynched, I think, in 1892. But she didn't even stay silent after these lynching. You know, as a journalist, which she was a really good journalist. She actually documented all this. She investigated these lynchings and exposed the truth to these killings, actually, that was on justice towards Black people. And that she found out this was just more than racism. It dealt with control and terror against Black folks. And for just telling the truth, her newspaper offices were just destroyed by the mob. And was forced to leave Memphis. And, you know, she did not stop. And I just want you to see the correlation between Ida B. Wells and what's going on now in 2026 with the arrest of Don Lemon and Georgia Fort being arrested for actually documenting anti-ICE that's going on in Minnesota. Now, this is 2026, and Ida B, what was going on in the early 1900s, like this stuff is still going on today. But the thing with Ida B. Wells is, as well, it did not let her stop her. And I think this is the driving force of these good journalism that actually are following in suit today. But what the best fact that I did find about her was even though I knew she was a co-founder of NAACP, I did not know the history behind it of W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington basically wanted her to stonewall her and silence her because she was telling the truth. She was a truth teller. She went on facts, and she was not going to slow down or let people run over her as well too. And she articulated what was actually happening. And I'm glad that she actually documented these things as well too. But for me, you know, even though she lived this really dangerous life of following these lynching stories, you know, she was speaking against it. She documented, she exposed it, and she fought with facts. And that's what real leadership looks like to me.
Yeah, that's good, bro. And even you kind of highlighting the parallels between some of the stuff that happened in the past versus now. You know, you always hear the sayings like nothing's new under the sun, or like history repeats itself. And it's still just weird that we are able to make these connections and see these parallels of things at that point in time and how they're still problematic even in today's time. But also to your point, like there was some internal conflict amongst Black Americans. And so those things need to be taught. Those things need to be spoke on. Because it wasn't always just, you know, black and white. Like we had some internal issues amongst ourselves. But again, that's history. Those things need to be talked. Those things need to be discussed, so we can kind of better understand the movement and how we got to where we are now. So again, this is history, and we can't like gloss over any of it. So the good, the bad, the indifferent. So good point. Good point. Kim, any moments, new revelations, or just things that you were just hair blown back by learning from reading this book?
I love Ida B. Wells. After reading this book, I was like, she doesn't get her of course I've heard about her, know about her, but really learning in depth, I was like, she don't get her I need a movie about her or something. Like, it's just she does need a movie for real. She was a real one. And just the overall, even in the civil rights movement, the women, how they were like really a big backbone of it, but they're not really highlighted like they were in this book. But again, like Luria said, it's tons of things. I love how he told stories, because you would be listening and then he'd be like, and this how the police started. You're like, oh, like it's just like all the different facts were coming. But the story that really stuck with me was Margaret Garner towards the beginning, the enslaved woman that ran away. And when she when they got surrounded and she had her 2-year-old child with her, instead of going back, like she killed her 2-year-old child. And that stuck with me, because I'm like, if you're a mom and slavery has to be that bad for you to kill a 2-year-old, you know, so they don't have to go back and experience that. And then they was talking about how that story actually inspired Toni Morrison's Beloved eventually. So I thought that was a story that just stuck with me. But it just showed like, man, it has to be, because my nephew's 3 and I could imagine making that choice, and just as a mother making that choice, not letting your child to go back to slavery, so you would just rather free them in death. That was just something that really stuck with me from the book.
Yeah, that's good. and you know, we've heard these stories, and you kind of hear about, like, even in the civil rights movement, how vital the women were. But, in this book, like the names are actually called out. Like you're putting specific names, specific events, persons and people to these events. And so I think, again, like those are the little segments of history that kind of sometimes get glossed over and we don't really hear as much about. And so, again, this book just does a great job of really capturing all that.
It does.
And it's a lot. Again, it's a lot to really digest.
It's a lot.
It's probably one of those books you need to kind of read a few times, like any history. I mean, it takes a lot to really to kind of better understand it. I think even for me, just kind of thinking about, because we read the 1619 Project here on Four Friends, and so like that kind of being a pivotal moment, but really from the enslaved perspective, like to think, and again, as Loretta mentioned, like pre that time, like there were Black people here on this continent. Juan Guerrero was the name that kind of popped up, here in the 1500s, 1503, and also in 1513, being the first like documented Black person to be in the United States. And so these are the little nuanced details that we may miss or don't even hear about, in our public school system and education, because it's just those facades of how, we got here and how things were just like masked over so easily. Even hearing about, like Larry mentioned, like the slave revolts. And so you got your Nat Turners and, the bigger revolters. You got your Denmark VCs. You got your Forrest Joe, which was like he was like Robin Hood of South Carolina. I mean, he was like the boogeyman. We don't know what to do. So it was like all these different stories and this history that's really just being conveyed. And it's really refreshing to hear those details and things that you don't and aren't familiar with. So again, I advise anybody to just go pick this book up. Like, it's probably one of those books that you keep on the shelf and you pull it back out every so often, reference it or whatever.
Most definitely.
But even so, like, kind of following suit with that. And my kind of final question is, I guess, how did this book kind of influence or help you to really change your understanding of American history? Like we've kind of all discussed and talked about, like there's so much detail and even the parallels between how certain events may have started, how things were put in place to be how they are now, with policing, or talking about Ida B. Wells, or some of our other, Black political figures, and kind of how those moments have, translated into certain things today. But how did reading this book as a whole in its entirety kind of really change your understanding and perspective about kind of American history? Not only from like the Black perspective, but again, just history as a whole.
Correct.
And Isaiah, I'll let you kind of kick off that one, man.
I think, just from this book alone, it just teaches you the reason that they just want to dumb us down and take history out of school. It's an anti-intellectual that's going on, that's taking over this country because of an ahistorical ignorance. It's both fascinating and baffling of what legislators trying to do. Of like, how you cannot remove Black history. It's here, it's happened, it's a fact. And I mean, we pride ourselves of coming from communities and then strive for the upper echelon of education, that we educate ourselves, not just formally in the school system, but just from reading alone, just from integrating what happened within our families or what's going on with the community. Loretta just recently gave me a book of what's going on locally here as well, too, that I had to educate myself, but I didn't even know what was going on 30 minutes away from my house. So I know that many of us sit in privilege because we have these books, like you said, on our shelves, and we were raised in environments and homes that learning was the priority. But what I just feel responsibility that these kids, or not just in these kids, that the new age that are coming behind us, they're not reading or really digesting of what's really going on. Like, history is just so important. If you don't realize where you come from, you don't realize where your people went through, we can easily make that cycle of going back into that same system.
Yeah.
Man, that's good, bro. Yeah, that's so good. I think it's really spot on. And I think that's why I have an affinity for history, because, again, to understand kind of where we came from does provide a pathway forward to kind of where we can go. And also just, again, like we can't make those same mistakes. We have to learn from those lessons, but you have to be informed to do that. And so
That's true.
Right.
I think that is critical. So yeah, good point, bro. Kim, any thoughts on just kind of how this book has maybe reshaped your thoughts and perspective about, or even your understanding of just kind of American history as a whole?
Like Isaiah, well, everybody said, it just really expands your mind to give you just a complete picture of what happened here in America. And even reading it, it even maybe like even how the book ended, it was like a proudness that came on me when I like read the book, which made me also see why people try to, like, even now the culture we're whitewashing history again in this current climate. But it's just really important to know history because it really shows you like the patterns, like Chris was saying, like there's nothing new under the sun. Like, because even when I was reading certain stories, I was like, oh, that sounds like ICE, or that sounds like this. Things are repeating. And like Isaiah said, like if you know history, you know where you're going and you know how to combat things. So I just think, again, this book is a great book to help you. And like, I don't care what race you are, history, knowing the true history really will help you.
Yes.
Like just be a better person living here in America. And when I was reading the book, I was really like, man, the kids have got to get this book. I'm like, Michael got to make it like a teen edition or something, or some kind of way, because it really will help these kids, I think, really give them direction as well. So again, I recommend the book to everyone. History is important. They're trying to whitewash. I just saw an article with Medgar Evers at his house. They're changing the language on the plaque, so like he's not murdered. It's just crazy, but it's no different than in the book when the women, I don't remember the organization, maybe the Daughters of the Confederate, whatever, when they were rewriting textbooks, like the textbooks we grew up on and influenced us, how they were changing all those stories. So it's the same thing happening again years later. So again, read this book. If you're a parent, read it and tell your kids these stories. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Laria, any thoughts to kind of put a pin in this this topic about just how great this book was, one, but just again how it has even maybe shaped or kind of shifted your understanding of American history?
Yeah, I don't think when I was reading it, the first thing I was thinking is kind of like when you ask your mom or your dad, like, where do babies come from? And they're like, oh, a stork just came down and brought you to me. You know, you're like, really? And I feel like we've been talking about the stork being, you know, in our history books and our education systems that we have. And even, you know, with the Black history that we do, you know, you go to a Black history program now, they're like, you know, Beyonce is the first person that had a, but we've got so many heroes, you know, that have fought so hard. And I feel, you know, even like with me having to go to work tomorrow, I've got to start checking myself like, girl, do you go back and read this book? You should be on a plantation right now if these people wouldn't have sacrificed their lives and everything that they had to make sure that I'm in a position to be where I am. So how dare I get mad about going to a computer in a heated or air-conditioned room to do what I enjoy doing, and I complain for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. Like, that's just crazy, right? So it just really checked me in a lot of ways with where I stand on and how I move and how I'm living and how I'm thinking. So whenever I get in a place of being ungrateful, I'm just going to go pick up the book and go back and read and be like, look at where, you know, your ancestors have come from to give you this life that you have. And on the worst day, it wouldn't have been the best day for them. You know? So, well, it would have been the best day for them, my worst day. So it taught me to be more grateful and to really understand where I've come from and to be proud of that, to be very proud of where I am.
Yeah. No, most definitely. I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. I think that's why history kind of appeals to me so much. It does give perspective. But also to really even see, you know, the similarity and parallels with, you know, things repeating themselves. And I think that can be kind of frustrating because we have made so much progress, but there are areas where like we're seeing some of the same issues and it can be frustrating. But I definitely think that as a whole, there appears to be an issue, especially in this country, in the United States, like almost all other well-developed countries and nations, like they pride themselves on their history, you know, having museums and learning about their history and the good, the bad, whatever. Like they just boldly embrace that. And here in the United States, like we have seemed to try to mask and hide and, you know, cover up. And as you guys mentioned, even today, we're having, you know, certain things being pulled out of the museum because they're not portraying what they feel is the appropriate like likeness for, you know, United States history. But I mean, again, it's history. So you can't now try to cover up what enslaved people went through because it may have been a negative experience. Like, no, we still need to have those discussions. And it's even more so scary because like we here are saying like how much we learned and didn't know about this book. I'm thinking about the younger generations. I mean, you know, they talking about, oh, you was born in the 1900s. Like they think we're so
right.
Like, they do.
You're born in the 1900s. Like they think we're just so old now. And so we're talking about going back to the 1500s and like even before that. So to all you guys' point, I think this is definitely a testament to the information gap and the loss of knowledge when it comes to our history. And again, not just Black history, but American history. And so I challenge anyone that's listening or viewing us right now to definitely go back and pick up this book. It's necessary to learn and to be aware of the history of this country and to have perspective. And as I mentioned, even with the Lit Fest, it was refreshing to hear so many people that have already read this book. Oh, it's on my reading list. And so that was very refreshing to kind of get that in-person confirmation. But I'm challenging our listening and viewing audience as well. Definitely pick up this book, like share it with your kids. It may be maybe a bit much for, you know, a younger child at a younger age, but when they get a little older, definitely, you know, hand this book to them, but you can still convey some of these stories, some of these lessons, some of the information that you learn from this book to them now. And so I think, as Isaiah mentioned, like there's history all around us and we are responsible and are liable for being informed and being educated. And we can't use that it was such a long time ago as an excuse.
Correct.
So, all right. So look, 4 10s from the 4 friends here on 4 Friends of the Book podcast for Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America by Mr. Michael Harriot. Great book. Again, we highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, you know, please do. If you have read it, again, we want to hear some of these same answers and responses from you guys in the comments about what you thought, you know, those moments you may not have been familiar with, your rating, all that good stuff. So definitely give us that feedback. All right, so switching gears a little bit, you know, we read books, but we also catch up with each other over here on 4 Friends in the Book. We talk about things that are going on within our community, within the nation, this world. Last month, you know, and kind of even bleeding over to this month, you know, we're talking about ICE and the stuff that's kind of been going on with it. The world just still crazy, y'all. Like it just still seems like I was literally having a conversation today, like, man, we're living history right now.
That's true.
And to think that like the future generations will be studying these moments, but we're literally living history right now. But I guess the thing that really has everyone kind of along with ICE and everything else, but these Epstein files like that, it's a lot. It's a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, a lot of dialogue being centered around these Epstein files. Even some of the kind of whitewashing and covering up that's going on with that. I feel like we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
In the political arena. But now, files have been released. And so we're kind of getting some information about kind of the who, what, when perspective of these files. But really want to kind of hear you guys' thoughts about the files being released. Why it may have taken so long. Have you looked at any of them? Some names are being dropped now. Some people that we are familiar with. But again, like, why has it taken so long for this to come out? And it does appear to be something else that's to this story as well. So just wanted to hear you guys' kind of thoughts and opinions about everything that's going on with these files. I don't know. It's a mess, but coming to my bro, man, what do you think about these Epstein files? Like, thoughts and opinions? Like, just what's your take on this current stance of all this?
To see why this has been taking so long, you first see one name in this administration named 38,000 times in one document. Like, this is absolutely crazy. Like, and it's interesting that these people ever pick up the phone and call each other. How many emails can you send to one person? Like, it is crazy. Like, you are incriminating yourself via email. Like, did you ever call somebody and knowing actually what you actually are doing? Like, I'm not surprised at all because so much is going on. But I think Democrats, y'all need to be moved to impeach some of these people. Like, one start with, Secretary Howard Lutnick of Commerce and the Secretary of Navy, who, by the way, has no military experience to actually be leading the Secretary of Navy, but that's a whole nother topic as well too. They actually lied about the extent of the relationship with the Epsteins as well too. But one name that was interesting, and I don't really like to talk about our spiritual leaders, but Deepak, I used to watch you on Super Soul Sunday, so that's interesting why your name is in this file, but I have no comment on that name because we all have a higher power that we have to answer to as well too. So that's a whole nother topic. So it's just interesting in what's going on with these files. It's just like, it is crazy what you're reading, and wonder why, like, every time it's time to drop the Epstein files, like, they'll say something crazy or try to hide away from this and make some type of noise some other way. Like, I see now, wow, it's some names that are in these lists of people, and like, ooh, it just makes you want to take a bath after you read it.
Yeah, there's a lot. Laria, any thoughts or opinions on just kind of what's going on with these files? Like, why it's taking so long? And now that it's even out, like, I don't know if you've taken any time to kind of to look at it or hear other people's stance or kind of summation on it, but kind of what's your thoughts and opinions about these Epstein files?
Right. I'm like, the kid's diabolical.
Right.
It's ridiculous. I don't want to read them because it's just too nasty and foul for me from what I'm even hearing from the commentary.
Right.
And I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised at a lot of it. I just read something where they were talking about Luke from 2 Live Crew. Y'all, you got to be born in the 1900s to know who that is.
1900s.
From the 1900s. But they said, Luke said he went to a party at Donald Trump's house. This was back in the 90s. And he said it was rooms with like younger girls. And he said, he just was like, oh, no, I don't want, he left Luke now. And if you know who Luke is, that's like one of the freakiest people in the
Mr.
world.
Freak Nasty himself.
I mean, they didn't, they were doing all kinds of stuff on stage when we was growing up and even when I was in college. So, for him to say that was not even right, then they were doing all kinds of stuff. But, it's just, it's evil. It doesn't surprise me because when people don't have a baseline of life, of a human life, period. You may say that you believe these certain Christian values, but the way you live, it just sounds like you went and got votes from people and they believed you. And they were in such a rush to get rid of the black people from certain areas and different minorities that they voted for this person. And, with the Epstein files and all that, it's it's both parties in it, but it's just really just sickening. And these are the people who are our major players in the world. Very scary. Very scary. So, it's nothing new under the sun. And from reading this book, it's not surprising. Look, it made everything just so much clearer. It's like,
yes,
savages then, savages now, like, okay, well, makes sense to me. Before I was all, oh my God. And now I'm like, makes sense. Okay.
Makes sense. Interesting.
Ties it all together. Yeah.
Kim, any thoughts or opinions on, I guess, kind of the current state of kind of how this information is coming out now, as it's coming out, or why it's taking so long to come out? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Like Laria said, well, I see why it's taking so long to come out, just with the stuff, because I don't think everything is even out now, but it's just so disturbing. Like Laria, I'm not even like looking I'm just seeing like what news is covering and little stuff I see on TikTok. Even that stuff is just absolutely like sick and disgusting. So again, my heart goes out to the victims, because a lot of their names weren't redacted in the files, but the people that were victimizing them were redacted in the files. So I hope they really do get justice. But with the way history is, the powerful people are always kind of taken care of anyway. So I'm not holding my breath. They might be one or two scapegoats, but I don't think, everybody that did stuff will be prosecuted. So I'm just sad. Just hearing all about it and angry and disgusted, all the feelings.
Yeah. Nah, I think you guys all bring up good points. It's just so much, man. I feel like every month, and Loretta kind of said it last month. She's like, every month is something else. And I don't even know, like, when can we get to something happy, like something good? Like, I just don't, it seems like for years now, we've been talking about just, and I know there's a silver lining somewhere, but as a whole, like, it's just so much evil going on right now that's just really, overshadowing the good stuff. And I know there's good things that's happening, in this country. I know there's good things that are happening in this world, but like the evil is really just overshadowing, some of this stuff. And again, as you like listen and be a student of history, you kind of see the trends and some of these things kind of resurfacing. And it really just, to me, it highlights how like money and power, how much weight that really carries, not only within this country, but even globally, where you have people that, again, have money and resources and some power. And like now they're bigger than life. They're larger than life. They're larger than the laws that are here to govern us all, because their influence and their power and their resources have kind of given them a green light to just do whatever they want to. And I think that more than anything is how that is now being like, becoming more transparent is really just the hardest thing to swallow. I think it's always been here and we've kind of always known these things, but it keeps getting, like Laria said last month, worse and worse. So
it does.
What?
It's
literally.
It's just so much, man. And so I don't know.
I want to leave on a lighter note.
Please do, bro. Lighten it up.
This is Black History Month, and we've been learning about history as well, too. But, a new Colorado law is set to change how students actually learn Black history. They passed a House Bill 25-1149 that every public school grades K through 12 is required to integrate Black history in their cultural study plans into the curriculum by, I think, year 2028. And this plan must go through the entire school system. I think it's important that we just highlight these wins and just put us in the good steps that have a more inclusive educational system.
No, that's good, bro.
Good.
Yeah, I'm glad you was able to kind of to bring us up
back.
A little bit. Yeah.
Bring us back.
Look, good job, Isaiah.
Yeah. So again, we have read the book Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America by Michael Harriet for the month of February. Kind of had a brief discussion about just things that are going on right now with these Epstein files being released, some of these names that are being dropped, and just kind of the impact like all this is having on us. So again, just appreciate you guys reading the books and joining these conversations with us. But you know what time it is now. It's time
is it?
time for our favorite segment of the show. Would not be a show without it. The segment we entitle The Rant. It's our time period where let my good brother Isaiah Tukes speak just freely from the mind, whatever's on his heart, where he has a time period to just really talk about whatever he's feeling. He usually mini rants throughout the episode, but this is his time period to kind of just really get into it and talk about whatever's on his heart. We don't debate it. We don't really contest it. And so, my brother, the floor is yours once again. 60 seconds on the clock, starting now. Go.
This is Black History Month, and it's time to recognize the lived experience of all Black folks who have fundamentally shaped, challenged, and strengthened this country. And we're innovators, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. And we have shaped the world in ways history tried to hide, but our impact is everywhere you look. From science to culture, from survival to brilliance, we've turned struggle into strength. And you are proof of resilience, creativity, and power. And the world is better because we exist. And this year, as we celebrate 100 years of Black history, let's honor the sacrifices of the leaders who have come before us. And as Governor Westmore recently said, I'm never in a room because of someone's benevolence nor kindness. And I'm not in a room because of a social experiment. I'm in a room because I belong there, and the room was incomplete until I got there. And that's that on that.
That's good. That's good. Shout out Governor Westmore.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
Come to Georgia.
I know, right?
Please.
No, look, go to the White House. That's what we really need.
Please.
Jesus.
We need a change in the White House, and I think he might be a good candidate for the job. All right, y'all. So just wrapped up the book for this month. If you haven't already, please read it. If you haven't read it, go read it, then come back and watch this episode and kind of chime in and give your thoughts and opinions. Had a discussion about kind of the Epstein files and all the stuff that's going on with that. And my brother just killed his rant to wrap up Black History Month 2026 here on Four Friends in the Book. So Isaiah, tell our listening and viewing audience what we have to look forward to next month.
Hey guys, before we let you leave, we want to let you know that we'll be reading The Black Mother of Hollywood by Jennifer Lewis, and you don't want to miss it. L'Real, please let the viewers know when they can tune in.
You can tune in every third Thursday right here at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And if you're watching us here on YouTube, do us a favor and hit that button and get us to our goal of 300 right now.
Yes.
Also, social media, make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram.
Absolutely, guys. And we're also on those podcasting services. So if you're listening there, if you don't want to see our pretty faces, you can always listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite podcast. So leave us a review there. We would love to get that feedback there as well. And as always, let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow, let's have a discussion right here on Four Friends in the Book. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you, guys.